Before we get started on the Dharma talk, please join me in invoking the Buddha's name 3 times. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Dear Venerable Abbot, dear Sangha, good afternoon. Today we're covering chapter 24 of the Lotus Sutra titled The Bodhisattva Wonderful Sound. So we're nearing the end of the Lotus Sutra. So we have 4 more chapters to cover. This will be a hopefully quick chapter. Knowing me, probably not, but we will try. So chapter 24 and 25 are pretty similar as far as the characteristics of these 2 bodhisattvas. And so in 24, the chapter focuses on the bodhisattva wonderful sound, whereas chapter 25 focuses on Avalokiteshvara bodhisattva. And in both chapters, we'll see a lot of similarities as far as the manifestations, the different manifestations that both bodhisattvas have. However, there are still some slight differences between the 2. So we won't worry about the 25th until next week, but the bodhisattva wonderful sound. If you remember toward the beginning of when we started the Lotus Sutra, discussions, we talked about the 2 paths that the Lotus Sutra takes, right? There's the historical path, and then there's the ultimate or the dimensional path, right? And so toward the end, we have the dimensional path, or the teachings of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that are celestial in a sense, right? So the story of the Bodhisattva Wonderful Sound in this sutra, in this chapter, is referencing how the Bodhisattva Wonderful Sound traveled from his worldly system out there in the middle somewhere, and came to the Saha world, which is the world that we live in, to listen to Shakyamuni Buddha teach the Lotus Sutra. And so, as we'll see in a lot of other chapters, when the Buddha is introducing other bodhisattvas or Buddhas, one of the questions that will always occur, is the assembly asking the Buddha about the qualities of the bodhisattva, the Buddha that's coming to them. So in this case, when Wonderful Sound Bodhisattva was coming to the Saha world, I forgot which Bodhisattva asked the question, but he asked the question, who is this Bodhisattva? Why are they traveling here? How are they traveling here? What characteristics do they have in order to be able to do this huge feat of traversing these different world systems and coming to here? But anyway, point is, one of the first questions that were asked about this bodhisattva is, why has a name Wonderful Sound? And so the Buddha briefly explains the reasoning of the name, which we don't get too much detail necessarily, but if we reference prior chapters and the chapters following this chapter and some of the commentary, we'll understand that Wonderful Sound was given this name because in past lives, when he was attending other Buddhas, that his way of providing offerings was in the form of music. So he had a beautiful voice, essentially. And so that was his form of offering. So that and his so he's known for that, and he's also known for providing the to providing alms bowls, 7 alms bowls made out of the 7 treasures to each of the Buddhas that he made offerings to. And so, wonderful sound in this case, in this sense, not only just means that he's a beautiful voice, right? But some of the more detailed points to this is it's also one of those voices, or one of those, let me just backtrack a little bit. Have we ever heard, let's say you went to a meeting or a Dharma talk or whatever, right? Every once in a while, the speaker will say something that just made so much sense to you and just clicked, right? And you've cemented that saying or topic or discussion into your head, right? Something was said that just penetrated you, that just kind of stuck with you. And so you're always referencing that talk, or you're referencing what they said, et cetera, right? I'm sure most of us have had those situations where someone said something that just will forever be living in your head rent-free, right? And so this was kind of the same thing. This is the one Bodhisattva Wonderful Son had that ability to provide Dharma talks that were never forgotten by the assembly. And so he had a really charismatic way of teaching the Dharma. And then as we go through the chapter, some of the other characteristics that this Bodhisattva has is shared by also the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. So in the next chapter, next week, we'll see that Avalokiteshvara is able to manifest in 32 different forms, right? And in this chapter, this Bodhisattva is also able to do that because they've both achieved the spiritual power, the samadhi of transforming to any being, essentially. And so it references how they're able to show up or come to you as men, as women, as kings, as ministers, as Brahmins, wives, kings' wives, humans and non-human beings, and all these other manifestations. And so one thing that is important when we read this Lotus Sutra is it's one of those sutras where you have to have a pretty solid foundation of the symbolism in Buddhism, right? Because in Buddhism, there's a plethora of symbolism, and everything means something. It doesn't always necessarily mean the exact word, right? And so we're saying they're able to manifest 32 different forms. It doesn't literally mean they're able to change their form to men, women, kings, Brahmins, servants, lay people, lay women, etc., etc. All the AC just turned off at once. Sorry. And so in our regular lives, what we can think of this is think of a person that's able to wear multiple hats, right? And we all do this from time to time. We all have, whether you go to school, whether you have jobs, whether you're a parent, you're always constantly wearing different hats throughout the day, right? And so when you go to work, you're a coworker, you're someone's boss, you're someone's subordinate, right? When you go home, you're someone's wife or husband or mom or father or child or sibling, right? When you go out with your friends, your friend or your family or your cousins, whatever it may be. So we have different masks, different hats that we wear throughout the day and throughout our lives. And so that's essentially what these different manifestations mean, is saying that a true bodhisattva is able to manifest in different forms in order to accommodate the people that they are helping, right? They have to be spiritually and humanistically flexible and being able to provide assistance or dharma talks or protection to those they are trying to help, right? As trying to help sentient beings. And so as aspiring bodhisattvas and future Buddhas, we too must also play that role, right? We too have to always change our ability to teach in different ways, right? And this is something I've said multiple times, and this is a well-known characteristic of the Buddha, right? That the Buddha was able to change his teachings and customize his Dharma talks according to the audience, according to the assembly that he's with. And so if he's teaching at a small village that is poor and illiterate or uneducated, he'll teach them in a way that they are able to understand and comprehend the Dharma. But if he's teaching in a palace full of highly ranked officials and highly educated people, then he would teach them at a higher level that they would be able to comprehend, right? He doesn't necessarily dumb it down for them, right? So it's all the same Dharma, just taught in different ways. Likewise, we have to also do the same thing, right? As parents, right, you don't speak to someone who cuts you off on the road the same way that you speak to your 7-year-old, right? You have to change the language, you have to change the way you speak and the way you respond and the way you want to confer your ideas to them. That's essentially the gist of this chapter. This chapter is really just showcasing the devotion that this Bodhisattva has to the Buddhas and to the sentient beings that he is trying to save or help or protect or provide Dharma talks to. And so it's a relatively short chapter, so there's really not much to it necessarily. It mentions, I don't even count how many samadhis, but it mentions the various types of samadhis that this Bodhisattva achieved, right? I'm trying to find it, like the samadhi of Dharma flower, the samadhi of pure virtue, the samadhi of constellation king play, the samadhi of absence of affinity, the samadhi of wisdom seal, the samadhi of understanding languages of all living beings, the samadhi of the accumulation of all merit, the samadhi of purity, the samadhi of spiritual play, the samadhi of wisdom torch, the samadhi of adorning the king, the samadhi of pure light, the samadhi of pure treasury, the samadhi of not shared in common with others, the samadhi of sun revolutions, great samadhis such as these equal to numbers of gangs of sands and billions of kotis of Ganges rivers. So it's showcasing the spiritual attainments of this Bodhisattva, right? And some of these samadhis, and I guess I should explain what samadhi is, I guess. So samadhi is essentially a type of deep meditation, right? It is a deep meditation that is able to manifest specific types of characteristics or attributes or spiritual powers, essentially, in one way, shape, or another. But in layman terms, samadhi for us regular people just means a deep, concentrated focus of meditation. So this is just a deep meditation that we're all able to attain. The other quality of this bodhisattva is being able, his awakened understanding, right, of being able to understand the hearts of people, being able to truly see what is causing them pain and suffering. There's a lot of times when people are speaking to you, the words that they're speaking may be happy and joyful and positive. You can see on their face and in their way of speaking or acting or interacting with you that it doesn't confer the same type of energy, right? So your words may be positive and wholesome and happy. Your body, your energy, your demeanor may be showing the opposite, right? And so a lot of times, especially as aspiring bodhisattvas trying to help all sentient beings everywhere in the 10 directions and the 3 realms, that it's important to recognize these subtle fluctuations in people's demeanor, right? And so as a good, just think of anybody in your life that you're close to, whether it's your family, your friends, your siblings, your significant others. If you've known them long enough, you know that when there's something wrong with them, you just know, right? You don't have to ask them what's wrong. You can tell that there's something wrong. There's something bothering them, or they're excited or not excited or happy or depressed, whatever it may be, right? You're able to really just tell. Words are not necessary to see that necessarily, right? And so we have to kind of take that and adapt that to being able to kind of see that same reference for everyone else that we're speaking to. And so whether it's your coworkers or your friends or your neighbors, right, it's important to apply that mindset of this person is equally loved as my own family or friends, right? And so if you notice that there is something wrong or something bothering them or something that is just off, right, then it's our responsibility as aspiring bodhisattvas, to do what we can to assist, to do what we can to help, right? A lot of times people are just afraid to ask for help, right? I'm 100% guilty of that. And even in professional life, if there was something wrong at work or I couldn't do it or I couldn't figure it out, I was the type of person that would do everything and have the building crumble down before I would ask for help. But by the time that happens, it's too late for any help. And so we have to really be courageous, not to just to ask help for ourselves, but to be able to see that desire for help from others as well. And so we have to be able to not just, oh, if they need help, they'll ask, kind of a mindset, right? Nothing's wrong with them, they look perfectly fine. But as we know, or may know, depression or anxiety or just any negativity in life can be very unsettling. It can be hidden from most people, right? Unfortunately, I had a couple of family members who, on the outside, were perfectly normal, happy people. They were married, they had kids, they had a great job that they loved, but yet they were so distraught and so depressed in life that they took their own lives, right? And so that external happiness that people may portray isn't always what is truly going on inside. And this isn't necessarily saying you have to go to every single person and be like, are you okay? Are you sure you're okay? You're not going to kill yourself, right? We don't have to do that. But we do have to be attentive enough to see if there's any sort of sign that we need to assist in any way, shape, or form. It could be just providing the old lady in the line in front of you at the register 10 cents that she's missing, or $1 or $2, right? Or someone needing, 50 more cents or $1 or $2 or $5 for gas, whatever it may be. It's important to practice the virtues of a bodhisattva. And in the sutra, it's mentioned several times of the 6 perfections, the 6 paramittas. And the very first paramita, perfection, is generosity. And this is true generosity. Generosity without being asked, generosity without expectation of a return, and generosity that is wholesome and altruistic, right? And I give the example all the time that if you have to ask yourself whether or not you should help, it's not true generosity. Because at that point, you're contemplating, you're deciding, should I help? Do I not want to help? Do I have time to help? Can I help? If you already know, and we all know ourselves, if it's something that is in your capability of doing, then assist. Help. Don't hold back. Don't wait for someone to ask for help. Most people don't want to ask for help. it's a pride thing, I'm sure, right? Everyone holds on to this pride. I don't want to help. I don't need help. We all need help. Life is full of opportunities to help ourselves and to help others. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now. Told you this was going to be short for once in my life. I remember the last time I gave a Dharma talk in less than 30 minutes. It's a miracle. We should all have a celebration. But after the chapter 25th, all chapters going forward for the next 3 chapters, because we need 28 chapters in the Lotus Sutra. The last 3 are actually really short. They're just essentially conclusions, so those will go by pretty quickly. But then we're going to repeat all the way back to 1, so we'll start this fun journey all over again. Okay, questions, concerns, emotional outbursts? Yes, ma'am.
What I'm getting from what you're saying is that the part of listening to what's not being said? So that
correct. Deep listening, right? And deep listening is a characteristic of Avalokiteshvara. When we chant the invocation of bodhisattvas, right? To be able to hear what is not said. And so it's not always a natural instinct for most people to ask questions when nothing's being portrayed, right? Let's just say you're hanging out with family or friends or whatever, and they're just unusually quiet for some reason, right? If someone's not acting the way that they normally act, that's technically saying something without saying it, right? And so we may, as good friends or family or parents, ask what's wrong, but we don't always do. We don't always do because, for the most part, we're selfish. Meaning that sometimes we ask ourselves, oh, do I really want to get into this? Do I really want to waste my time asking what's wrong and hearing them complain or hearing them about their problems or depressions or anxieties, right? You put yourself first before you put others first. That's not a very conducive way to practice. What kind of bodhisattva is that? What kind of compassionate being is that? Right? As bodhisattvas, your ultimate goal is to practice and for all sentient beings. But again, we're also very selfish individuals most times. We're not always in the mindset of bodhisattvahood. But again, that's why we practice. That's why there's practice. That's why we have lists and numbers and precepts to help remind you what you need to do. As we mentioned a couple weeks ago when you guys took the Bodhisattva precepts, what did I say that was the distinction between the 5 precepts and the Bodhisattva precepts? What was the distinction between the 2? Go for it.
Bodhisattva precepts are for working.
Correct. Correct. And so you have to continuously apply and hold on to and use those precepts, because those precepts are going to be your guides on how to see suffering without having to be told. Good thing about that is everyone suffers. So regardless of who you are, someone is suffering somewhere. So there's always someone to help. But we have to also instinctively know that suffering will not always be verbal. Help will not always be a verbal request. And so we have to rely on just our own practice and knowing what we've committed ourselves to. Right? We've taken Bodhisattva precepts for what reason? Why? What is the difference between not taking Bodhisattva precepts and taking the Bodhisattva precepts? Right, but if you didn't take them, would you still be able to do that? If you did not take the precepts, would you still be able to do that? Okay, so then what is the difference between taking them and not taking them? Accountability is one, correct. Right? It is the dedication to yourself and to others that said, I made these promises, right? The Buddha doesn't care that you took precepts. We don't care that you've taken precepts. Your Sangha doesn't care that you've taken precepts. It doesn't matter. These are words to us. But to you, they need to mean more than that. Not just words. Anybody can say words. You can come up here and take monastic precepts, but that won't make you a monastic. Taking Bodhisattva precepts won't make you a Bodhisattva. Taking the 5 precepts won't make you a Buddhist. So what does? What does make you a Buddhist? What does make you a Bodhisattva? What does make you a monastic? And action. Take the Bodhisattva precepts or not, I don't care. Just show me and to the world that the precepts mean something to you. Otherwise, you've wasted your time, you've wasted my time. It's not easy. It takes time and effort to create the ceremonies. It takes time and effort away from my practice in order to do something for you. It's not a simple thing of just setting up a table and saying a bunch of words. Yes, ma'am. Right. So if you're trying to help someone and they make it obvious that they don't want the help, then you need to make it obvious that you're not helping. But you are helping. That makes sense. Like, help them, but don't make it obvious that you're helping them. Because, I mean, from a psychological standpoint, again, when someone denies help, I'm sure there's a bunch of reasons behind it, but one of the most common reasons is a sense of pride. Nobody wants to ask for help. I can do it myself. You know, that was me. It's a sense of pride. But at the same time, if you do attempt to help, whether directly or indirectly, and there's still pushback, then you have to then, I want to use the word give up, because you're not giving up. You're just, planting a seed. There we go. Thank you. You plant a seed, right? And as long as the seed is being nurtured and watered in some way, shape, or form, it will grow, right? So the same way when people ask me how to deal with difficult people, for instance, right? My answer to them is to do nothing except follow your practice. Because if someone is always rude to you, for instance, right? The majority of people will usually retaliate with rudeness or sarcasm or, just whatever, right? But that's just going to feed them more to just continue on. But instead, if you respond with compassion and empathy, and just do that, respond with compassion, right? In some way, in whatever way is applicable to the situation, you've planted that seed. And so the more that they come back and try to be rude to you or whatever, and you're just continuing to water that seed of compassion, eventually it'll click for them. Because when that seed finally surfaces and blooms, it may take some time. It may take a few days, a few weeks, a few months, a few years, but it will grow and it will bloom. And so the more you don't react the way they want you to react, but instead follow your own practice, follow watering that seed of compassion, eventually it'll click for them and they'll recognize this person doesn't respond the way I want them to respond. They're not responding with hostility. They're not responding with rudeness. They just continue to be nice. And it will click for them. It may not change anything about them necessarily, but it'll click in a sense that they'll recognize that you're not responding the way that they are treating you. And then it may change their ways, or it may not. But the point is you're not reacting the same way that they are treating you. And so the same thing with trying to help someone that doesn't want your help, you're just planting that seed. You may have to back off a little bit, but still, do small acts of kindness instead of big ones, big obvious ones. They obviously don't want your help, well, don't make it obvious that you're helping them. And it's always possible. It may not be easy, but it's still possible.
Unskillful people trying hardest. They had the best thing in mind, but they were coming from a place of personality and ego, and what they said just not necessarily helping at all. So I think the whole idea of just sitting with someone and hearing what they're not saying for a while is helping.
Right.
And that's building the trust that maybe next time a conversation will happen. Instead of, so many people, myself included, who really help someone, they all like, oh, I'm the helper, I'm here to help. Rather than say, I understand what you're doing. So much of it is so different.
I guess seeing the pain and suffering and knowing that everyone has pain and suffering and seeing it, and therefore having the compassion because the behavior comes from that pain and suffering.
Bodhisattva has to be very empathic. And that's kind of the concept behind the different manifestations that this Bodhisattva and Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva share, right? When they come to you in different manifestations. And that's and to me, that brings up a lot of memories of times and situations I was in where just a random person popped up out of nowhere to assist, to help, and then they just vanished, right? And so think of times in your life where that one random person just came into your life, did something, whether they said something, did something for you, or just planted anything in your mind, that for the rest of your life you still remember them, and you still remember what had happened and what they did or what they said. You'll never see them ever again in your life. So these bodhisattvas and us should work in that same way. So if someone doesn't want your help and they're resisting, plant the seed in some skillful way. That way it can grow on its own, right? We may not always know what that opportunity is or how to plant that one skillful means to allow it to grow by itself, but we can, that doesn't stop you from trying, right? That's all you can do, is trying. And as long as you attempt to help from a place of compassion and empathy versus, I want to be the hero here and try to save them, then you're just doing the right thing regardless of the outcome. Right.
Just the second part of it, which you said, which was, if they don't want to help or whatever, whatever the person says. Yeah. So like, I guess boundaries, because I guess, you don't want to get to the point where you're so set on like, I don't know, that it's causing toxicity in your life or damage.
And it's okay to say no. No is a complete sentence. People are afraid to say no because they're afraid of not living up to their expectations, to their own expectations, or the expectations that they believe others have of them, for instance, right? But there's always going to be situations and circumstances that we just have zero ability to do anything. We just can't help. We don't, whether it's we don't have the means, we don't have the knowledge, we don't have the experience or the expertise, whatever it may be. There will always be situations where we just can't help. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as we tried, right? We all have a maximum level of ability to help. As long as you've tried all that you can, to the best that you can, then that's all you can do. There's nothing wrong with saying no. As long as we've tried, you've hit your max, then the seed is already planted. Let karma take its course. Good question. Anything else for this short Dharma talk? Now would be usually the time that I finish my Dharma talk.
The only other thing that I just wanted to comment on that, one thing that I recently caught myself doing is I would try to help and get denied help, and I'm like, no, but you really need it. Like, you really need this. And then not only that, but then I was running around with resentment about that. And I thought, how is this person supposed to react to me if I'm running around with all that in my heart, and all that in my spirit, whatever you want to call it, if I have those feelings, because people can feel that from me. We often spot some fake or like, I'm not angry, kind of situation.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I started feeling light-hearted and just not judging them, like, hey, they're doing their thing, the other person responded way better. So I thought that was really interesting because I really caught myself like, and I'm assuming that was attachment, my attachment to wanting to result in expectation. And so when I let that go and just respected them as, they're going to be ready when they're ready, and that has nothing to do with me, and let me tell all stories about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, it's because of this, and it's because of that, and it's because of this test, and that test, and this reason. And I just said, hey, they're okay. And that's it. I didn't give it any more thought. And the other people can sense the difference in how
Right.
because I'm not trying to do it. So I think that helped me like build a little more trust with them. And then I also feel like I trusted myself because I trusted my intentions were good, but therefore, I'm not, there's no way for me to force my things on someone, and nor should I. And so that was an insight that I got recently. Is like I can't carry it around.
Right.
Then that person feels it from me. And so, and then it does affect my judgment. So that I interact, so just let it go.
It is what it is. I was going to say something I forgot. We also have to watch if we're being denied help, right? Or if you're extending your desire to help, that it's being denied. It's very important to be mindful of what you're feeling in that moment. Because if you're feeling like, oh no, I need help, I want to help, that's probably not a true generosity, right? It's most likely your expectation of wanting to help and doing all you can and being super adamant in order to make sure they can help. Like, no, I don't want your help. No, but you need the help. No, but I'm okay, I don't need your help. No, I'm going to help you anyway. Right? It's like, you don't, yeah, no. So, if you're feeling any other way besides, okay, fine, when someone denies you, when someone says no, when someone does something against it, whatever it may be, watch what is happening in the mind. Watch what emotions and feelings are rising, right? Because that's gonna give you a very hard, direct sign of what is going on in the mind, right? It's equal to labeling when we label meditation. What is happening? Why do you feel so obsessed with wanting to help after they say no? Exactly. I want to be the good guy. I want to be the hero.
I need you to be okay, so I'm okay. Or I need to control the situation. So, sometimes it comes across as helpful. There's no family members, so you can do what it is. But it's in my best interest that the family be okay. It's in my best interest that this member do whatever. So that's what I would find that motivation. Like, what are my true motivations? It's not just
Right.
to help this person, so that I'm happy. So there's a lot of people like that. I mean, it's well-intentioned self-interest, but it's still self-interest. And so letting it go has become easier once I realize that.
Right.
Oh, that's self-attachment. That's the world I see. That's the world I need. I want. I.
Right.
That is what was. And so the person can feel it. They can feel it. Just like you can when someone is fit to you or comes to you. Underlying intentions. Now, there's people that are very good at mastering that, so those are exceptions, but most people, you can feel it and they can feel it.
Right. There's also a sense of proving your worth to people too, right? Eagle's not here, so I'm going to talk behind his back. But something I said to Abel yesterday, that when you're doing something that you know isn't entirely beneficial to you, is not entirely wholesome, but you do it in order to prove that you know whatever it is that you're doing to others, right? You're proving your knowledge, you're proving your expertise, you're proving your experience, just for the sheer fact of, I want you to know that I know this. But again, that goes back to egotistical thinking. And it goes back to conceding or comparing yourself to others. I'm going to help you, whether you like it or not, because I'm better than other people. Are you then? I'm not even better than other people. Correct. Correct. Okay. We're out of time. Not really, but I'm going to make it out of time. So we can go chanting. So we'll transfer the mirror and then go to chanting. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. For any positive karmic action we've accumulated here today, we wish to transfer the merit to all sentient beings and wish them full enlightenment. Did you check the sound?
Seven?
Oh no, that's the,
We're in the Lotus Sutra.
yeah. First page. Yes, Linda. Incense in the censer now is burning, all the Dharma realm in every place auspicious clouds appear. Our sincere intention thus fulfilling, as all Buddhas now show their perfect body, homage to the incense cloud canopy, Bodhisattva and great Bodhisattvas. Gratitude we offer this incense to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas throughout space, and may it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting our careful efforts, our whole heart, mindfulness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Homage to the eternally abiding Buddhas, the supreme Dharma, and sagely Sangha throughout the Dharma realm and the realm of empties, and 3 periods of time. To the fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha Maitreya, honored future Buddha, Manjushri great Bodhisattva, universal great Khan, Bodhisattva, all Dharma guarding Deva Bodhisattva, and the assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. To Amitabha Buddha in the land of ultimate bliss, Avalokiteshvara, great compassion, Bodhisattva, great strength, Bodhisattva, restore great vow, Bodhisattva, and the assembly of great pure sea-like Bodhisattvas. Unsurpassed, profound, and wonder is difficult to encounter. Millions of eons I now see and hear it, receive and uphold it, and I vow to fathom the Gata's true meaning. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Pilgrim briefly in this world, and joyful to hear the Lotus Sutra. How hard to be born a human, but I might hope to hear once more. In the long night's darkness, in between only the Lotus Sutra sheds its the wonderful Dharma of the Lotus Sutra. Whoever be called preacher of fivefold Dharma, with his 6 roots cleansed in the end, he who chants he wanders the world without fear like a lion king. Namo Sadharma Pundarika Sutra, Namo Sadharma Pundarika Sutra, Namo Sadharma Pundarika Sutra. Let's go to tab 5, page 88. Lotus assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Namo Lotus assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Namo Lotus assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Of the lotus of the wonderful law, chapter 15, emerging from there at the time the Bodhisattva and Mahasattva Maitreya, knowing the thought that was in the minds of the Bodhisattvas, as numerous as the sands of 8,000 and wishing also to resolve his own doubts, press his palms together, turned to the Buddha, and made this inquiry. Immeasurable thousands, billions, a great host of Bodhisattvas, such as was never seen in the past, I beg the most honored of 2-legged beings to explain. They have come from what causes and conditions bring them together, huge in body with great transcendental powers, unfathomable in wisdom, firm in their intent and thought, with the power of great persevere, the kind of living beings delight to see, where each one of these Bodhisattvas brings with him a retinue immeasurable in number, like the sands of the Ganges. Some of these great Bodhisattvas bring numbers equal to 6,000 Ganges sands, and this great multitude with a single mind seek the Buddha way. These great teachers equal in number to 60,000 Ganges sands together come to offer alms to the Buddha and to garden up the sutra. More numerous are those with followers like the sands of 50,000 Ganges, those with followers 40,000, 30,000, 20,000, 10,000, 1,100, or the sands of a single Ganges, half a Ganges, 1/3, 1/4, or only 1 part, 1,000,000, 10,000, those with 1,000, 10,000 ayudas, 10,000, 1,000,000 disciples, or 500,000. They are more numerous still, those with 1,000,000 or 10,000 followers, 1,000 or 150 or 10, 3, 2 or 1, or those who come along without followers, delighting in solid, all coming to where the Buddha is. They are even more numerous than those described above. If one should try to use an abacus to calculate great multitude, though he spent as many kalpas as Ganges sands, he could never know the full sum. This host of bodhisattvas with their great dignity, virtue, and diligence, who preached the law for them, who taught and converted, and brought them to this, under whom did they first learn enlightenment? What Buddha's law do they praise and proclaim? What sutra do they embrace and carry out? What Buddha way do they practice? These bodhisattvas possess transcendental power and the power of great wisdom. The earth in 4 directions trembles and splits, and they all emerge. World honored one, from times past I have seen nothing like this. I beg you to tell me where they come from, the name of the land. I have constantly journeyed from land to land, but never have I seen such a thing in this whole multitude, where is not one person that I suddenly they have come up from the earth. I beg you to explain the cause, the members of this great assembly. Now the immeasurable hundreds, thousands, millions of bodhisattvas all want to know these things regarding the causes, the beginning and end of this multitude of bodhisattvas, possessor of immeasurable virtue. We beg you to dispel the doubts of the assembly. At the time the world-honored one said to the Bodhisattva Maitreya, be diligent and of a single mind, for I wish to explain this affair. Have no doubts or regrets, the Buddha is hard to fathom. Now you must put forth the power of faith, abiding in patience and goodness. Allah, which in the past was never, you will now all be able to hear. Now I will bring you ease and doubts or fears. The Buddha has nothing but truthful words. His wisdom cannot be measured. This foremost law that he has gained is very profound and capable of analysis. He will now expound it. You must listen with a single mind. Ajita, you should understand. These great bodhisattvas for countless kalpas have practiced the Buddha wisdom. All have been converted by I cause them to set their minds on the great way. These are my sons, they dwell in this world, constantly carrying out good practices, preferring a quiet place, reject the fret and confusion of the great assembly, taking no delight in much talk. In this manner these sons study and practice my way in law and in order, that day and night with constant diligence they may seek the Buddha way. In this Saha world they dwell in the empty space, firm in the the power of will and concentration. With constant diligence, seeking wisdom, they expound various wonderful doctrines, and their minds are without fear. When I was in the sea of Gaia, seated beneath the Bodhi tree, I attained the highest, the correct enlightenment, and turned the wheel of the unsurpassed. Therefore I taught and converted them, caused them for the first time to set their minds on the now all of them dwell in the stage of no regression, and all in time will be able to become Buddhas. What I speak now are true words with a single mind. Ever since a long distant past, I have been teaching and converting this multitude. At the time the Bodhisattva Maitreya spoke and said, in the past the Buddha departed from the Shakyak, left his household and near Gaia, sat under the Bodhi tree. Little time has passed since then, yet the sons of the Buddha are immeasurable in number already. For a long time they have practiced the Buddha way, dwelling in transcendental power and the power of wisdom, skillfully learning the Bodhisattva way, unsoiled by worldly things like the lotus flower in the water, emerging from the earth. All display a reverent and respectful mind, standing in the presence of the world honored. This is difficult to fathom. How can one believe it? The Buddha attained the way very recently, yet those he has helped. So we beg you to dispel the doubts of the assembly, to make distinctions and explain the truth of the matter. It is as though a young man just turned 25 were to point to 100-year-old man with gray and wrinkled face and say, I sired him. The old man were to say, this is my father. The youthful, the son old, no one in the world could believe this. World honored one, your case is similar, only very recent you attain the way. These bodhisattvas are firm in will, in no way timid or immature. For immeasurable kalpas they have been practiced the bodhisattva way. They are clever at difficult. Their minds know no fear. They have firmly cultivated a persevering mind, upright in dignity and virtue. They are praised by the Buddhas of the 10 directions as able to adept at preaching distinctions. They have no wish to remain among the crowd, but constant favor a state of meditation and seek the Buddha way. They have been dwelling in the space under the earth. This we have heard from the Buddha and have no doubts in the matter. But for the sake of future ages, we beg the Buddha to explain and bring understanding. If with regard to this suit one should harbor doubt and fail to believe, he will fall out once into the evil path. So we beg you now to explain these immeasurable bodhisattvas. How in such a short time did you teach them aspiring minds, and to dwell in the stage of no regression? Chapter 16, the lifespan of the dust come one. At the time the world honored one spoke to the bodhisattva, all the great assembly, since I have attained Buddhahood, the number of kalpas that have passes an immeasurable hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, millions, trillions of samkhayas. Constantly I have preached, teaching, converting countless millions of living beings, causing them to enter the Buddha way. All this for measurable kalpas, in order to save living beings. As an expedient means I appear to enter nirvana, but in truth I do not pass into extinction. I am always here preaching love. I am always here, but through my transcendental powers I make it so that living beings in the befuddlement do not see me, even when close by. When the multitude see that I have gaze at me when living beings have become truly faithful, honest, and upright, gentle, and intense, single-mindedly desiring to see the Buddha, not hesitate, even if it costs them their lives. Then I and the assembly of monks appear together on Holy Eagle Peak. At the time that I am always here, never entering extinction, but that because of the power of an expedient means at times I appear to be extinct, at other times not, and that if there are living beings in other lands who are reverent and sincere in their wish to both, then among them too I will preach the unsurpassed love you have not heard of. So you suppose that I entered extinction? When I look at living beings, I see them drown in a sea of suffering. Therefore I do not show my causing them to thirst for me. Then when their minds are filled with yearning, at last I appear and preach the law for them. Such are my for Asamkaya Kalpas. Constantly I have dwelled on Holy Eagle Peak and in various other places when living beings witness the end of a kalpa and all is consumed in a great fire. This my land remains safe and tranquil, constantly filled with heavenly and human beings. The halls and pavilions in its and groves are adorned with various kinds of gems. Jewel trees abound in flowers and fruit where living beings enjoy themselves at ease. The gods strike heavenly drums, constantly making many kinds of music. Mandarava blossoms rain down, scattering over the Buddha and the great assembly. My pure land is not destroyed, yet the multitude see it as consumed in fire with anxiety, fear, and feeling it everywhere. These living beings with their various offenses through causes sing from their evil actions, spend some kaya kalpas without hearing the name of the three treasures. But those who practice meritorious ways, who are gentle, peaceful, honest, and upright, all of them will see me here in person preaching the at times for this multitude. I describe the Buddha's lifespan as immeasurable, and to those who see the Buddha only after a long time I explain how difficult it is to meet the Buddha. Such is the power of my and of countless kalpas I gained as the result of lengthy practice. You who are possessed of wisdom entertain no doubts on this point. Forever, for the Buddha's words are true, not false. He is like a skilled physician who uses an expedient means to cure his deranged sons. Though he gives a word, he is dead, yet no one can say he speaks falsely. I am the Father of this world, saving those who suffer and are afflicted because of the befuddlement of ordinary people. Though I live, I give a word, I have entered extinction. For if they see me constantly, arrogance and selfishness arise in their minds, abandoning restraint, they give themselves up, desires, and fall into the evil paths of existence. Always I am aware of which living beings practice the and which do not, and in response to their needs for salvation I preach various doctrines for them. At all times I think to myself, how can I cause living beings to gain entry, surpass way, and quickly attain the body of a Buddha. Chapter 17, Distinctions and Benefits. At the time the Bodhisattva Maitreya rose from his seat, bared his right shoulder and pressed his palms together, and facing the Buddha said, the Buddha preaches a rarely encountered law, one never heard from past. Possesses great powers, and his lifespan cannot be measured. The countless sons of the Buddha here in the world on earth one make distinctions and describe the benefits of the law they will gain. Find their whole bodies filled with joy. Some abide in the state of no regret. Some have acquired dharani, some can speak pleasingly and without hindrance, or retain 10,000, a million repetitions of the humorous as the dust particles of 1,000 major worlds are all able to turn the unregressing wheel of the lost. Some bodhisattvas numerous as the dust particles of 1,000 intermediate worlds are all able to turn the pure wheel of the, and some bodhisattvas numerous as the dust particles of 1,000 minor worlds are assured that after 8 more rebirths they will be able to complete the Buddha way. Some bodhisattvas numerous as the dust particles of 432 times the 4 continents after correspond number of rebirths will become Buddha. Some bodhisattvas numerous as the dust particles of 1 set of the 4 continents after 1 more comprehensive wisdom. Thus when living beings hear of the great length of the Buddha's life, they gain pure fruits and rewards that are immeasurable and free of outflows. Again, living beings numerous as the dust particle of right worlds, hearing the Buddha describe his lifespan, all set their minds on the unsurpassed way. The world on earth reaches a law that is immeasurable and cannot be fathomed, and those who benefit from it are many, as boundless as the open heavenly mandadava flowers and great mandadava flowers rain down. Kshatras and Brahmins like Ganges sands arrive from countless Buddha lands. Sandalwood and aloes in a jumble of fine path rain down like birds flying down from the sky. They scatter as an offering over the Buddhas in the midst of the air. Heavenly drums of their own accord emit wonderful sounds. Heavenly roads by the 1,000, 10,000 million. Down wonderful jeweled encrusted censers burn priceless incense, which of its own accord permeates everywhere, an offering to all the world honored ones. The multitude of great bodhisattvas hold banners and canopies adorned with the 7 treasures, 10,000, a million in kind, lofty, wonderful in rows reaching up the Brahma heaven. Before each one of the Buddhas angel streamers and excellent banners, while in thousands and thousands of verses the praise of song. All these many things have never been known in the past, hearing that the Buddha's life is immeasurable. All beings are filled with joy. The Buddha's name is heard in 10 directions, widely benefiting living beings are endowed with good roots to help them set their minds on the unsurpassed way. At the time the Buddha said to the Bodhisattva and Mahasattva Maitreya, if someone seeking the Buddha was for a period of 800,000 million ayutas of kalpas should practice the 5 paramitas during all those kalpas, distributing alms to the Buddhas, the Prateka Buddhas and disciples, and the multitude of bodhisattvas, rare delicacies of food and drink, fine garments and articles of bedding or building, religious retreats of sandalwood adorned with gardens and groves, if he should. Many varieties, all refined and wonderful, and do this for the entire number of kalpas, who expresses devotion to the Buddha way. And if moreover he should keep precepts in purity and without omission or outflow, seeking the unsurpassed way praised by the Buddha, he should practice forbearance, remaining in a posture of submission and gentleness, even when various evils are visited on him, not allowing his mind to be roused or sway with others, convinced they have gained the law, harbor thoughts of overbearing arrogance, and he is treated with contempt and vexed by them. If he can still endure it with patience, and if he is diligent, ever firm in intent and thought for immeasurable millions of kalpas, single-minded, never lax or neglectful for countless kalpas, dwelling in a good and quiet place, and if he practices sitting and walking exercises, banish banishing drowsiness, constantly regulating his mind and actions, is able to produce states of meditation for 80 million, 10,000 kalpas, remaining calm, his mind never deranged. And if he holds to the blessing of this single-mindedness, then I will gain comprehensive wisdom and exhaust all the states of meditation. If this person for 100, 1,000, 10,000, a million kalpas should carry out these meritorious practices as I have described above, still those good men and women who hear me describe my lifespan leave it for even a moment, when blessings that surpass those of such a person. If a person is completely free of all doubt and regret, if in the depths of his mind he believes for one instant his blessings will be such as this, these bodhisattvas for immeasurable kalpas, when they hear me describe my lifespan, are able to believe and accept what I say. These persons will gratefully accept the sutra, saying our wish is that in future ages use our long lives to save living beings, just as today the world honored one king of the Shakyas roars like a lion in the place of practice, preaching the law without fear. So may we too in ages to come honor, revered by all, when we sit in the place of practice, describe our lifespan in the same manner. If there are those profound in mind, pure, honest, and upright, who hearing much can retain it, understanding the Buddha's words, and persons such as this will have no doubts about my lifespan. At the time the Buddha said to the Bodhisattva and Mahasattva Maitreya, if after I have entered extinction a person can honor and uphold this sutra, his blessings will measurable as I have described above. It is as though he has applied all manner of alms tower for the Buddha's relics, adorned with the 7 treasures, and with a central pole very tall and wide that tapers gradually as it reaches the Brahma heaven, jeweled bells by the 1,000, 10,000 million move in the wind. For immeasurable kalpas he offers to this tower flowers, incense, various kinds of necklaces, heavenly robes, and assorted musical instruments, and burns fragrant oil and lamps of butter oil that constantly light up the around in the evil age of the latter day of the law. If there is someone who can uphold this sutra, will be as though he supplied all the alms described above. If someone can uphold this sutra, it will be as though on the presence of the Buddha he should use oxhead sandalwood to build monks' quarters, offering or 32 halls as high as Taitala trees, kinds of superior foods and wonderful clothes and bedding, residences for assemblies of hundreds, thousands, gardens, groves, pools, and lakes, exercise grounds, and caves for meditation, all with various kinds of fine adorned. Someone with a believing and understanding mind accepts, upholds, reads, recites, and copies the sutra, or causes others to copy it, or offers sutra scrolls, scattering flowers, incense, and powdered incense, or constantly burning fragrant oil extracted from Sumana, Champaka, or Atumataka flowers. If he offers such as these, gained immeasurable merits, boundless as the open air, and his blessings will also be like this. How much more so if one upholds the sutra and at the same time dispenses alms, keeps the precepts, is forbearing, delights in net way to anger or evil speaking. If one displays reverence toward memorial towers, humbles himself before monks, gives a wide berth to an arrogant mind, constantly ponders upon wisdom, and is never angry when asked difficult questions, but responds compliantly with an explanation. If one can carry out such practices, his merits beyond measure. If you see a teacher of the law who has cultivated virtues such as these, you should scatter heavenly flowers over him, clothe his body in heavenly robes, bow your head before his feet in salutation. see the Buddha, you should also think to yourself, before long he will proceed to the place of practice and attain a state of no outflows and no action, bringing wide benefit to heavenly and human beings. In the place where such a person resides, where he walks, sits, or one reason. Scripture, there you should erect a tower adorned in a fitting and wonderful manner, and offer alms of various kinds to it. When the Son of the Buddha dwells in such places, the Buddha will accept and utilize them, and constantly in their midst will walk, sit, or lie down. Chapter 18, the benefits of the time the Bodhisattva and Mahasattva Maitreya said to the Buddha, after the world honored one has passed into extinction, if those who hear this sutra are able to respond with joy, what amount of blessings will they acquire? At the time the Buddha said to the Bodhisattva and Mahasattva Maitreya, if someone Dharma assembly is able to hear this sutra, even just one verse, and responding with joy preaches it to others, and in this way it along till they reach the 50th person. The blessings gained by this last person are such as I will now define. Suppose there is a great dispenser of charity who bestows goods on immeasurable multitudes, doing this 80 years, responding to each person's desire, seeing cold face, the missing teeth, the withered form, he thinks their death is not far off. I must now teach them so they can gain the fruits of the way immediately for their sake. Employs an expedient means, preaching the true law of nirvana. Nothing in this world is lasting or firm, but are like bubbles, foaming shimmer. Therefore all of you must quickly learn to hate it and be gone. When the people hear this law, become arhats, endowed with the 6 transcendental powers, the 3 understandings, and 8 emancipations. But the 50th person who hears one verse of the Lotus Sutra and responds with joy gains blessings that are far greater beyond description by simile and parable, and who has the teachings passed along to him receives blessings that are immeasurable. How much more so who assembly first hears the sutra and responds with joy? Suppose someone encourages another person, urging him to go and listen to the lotus, saying the sutra is profound and wonder are to encounter in 1,000, 10,000 kalpas. And suppose as urged a person goes to listen, even though he listens for just a moment, the blessings that the first person gets in reward I will knit this age after age. No afflictions of the mouth, no teeth missing, yellow or black, and lips that are not thick, curled or defected, no hateful features, a tongue not dry, black or too short, nose high, long and straight, forehead broad, smooth and well-shaped, face and eyes all properly aligned and impressive, the kind people delight to look, breath free of foul odor, a fragrance of Uttapala flowers constantly emitted by the mouth. Suppose one goes to the monk's quarters, express Lotus Sutra and listens with joy for just a moment. I will now describe his blessings and existences to come among heavenly and human beings. He will acquire wonderful elephants, horses, carriages, carts adorned with rare jewels, and will mount to the palaces of heaven. If in the place where the law is expounded one encourages someone to sit and hear the sutra, the blessings he acquires will in him to gain the seat of Shakra Brahma and the wheel turner. How much more so if one listens single-mindedly, explains and expounds the meaning and practices the sutra as the sutra instructs, that person's blessings know no bounds. Let's go to page 171. Heart of the Prajnaparamita, the Bodhisattva Avalokita, while moving in the deep course of Prajnaparamita, shed light on the 5 skandhas and found them equally empty. After this penetration, he overcame ill-being, listen, Shariputra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form, form is not other than emptiness, is not other than form. The same is true with feelings, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Listen, Shariputra, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They are neither produce nor destroy, neither defile nor immaculate, neither increasing nor decreasing. Their emptiness there is neither form nor feelings, no perceptions nor mental formations or consciousness, no eye or ear or nose or tongue or body or mind, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object, elements, no interdependent origins, and no extinction of them, no ill-being, no cause of ill-being, no end of ill-being, and no path, no understanding, no attainment. There is no attainment. The Bodhisattvas ground in Prajnaparamita find no obstacles for their minds, having no obstacles they overcome fear, liberating themselves forever from illusion and realizing perfect nirvana. Buddhas in the past, present, and future arrive at Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Therefore one should know that perfect understanding is the highest mantra, the unequaled mantra, the destroyer of ill-being, the incorruptible truth. Shaha Prajna Paramita should therefore be proclaimed. Gate Gate Para Gate Para Samgate Bodhi Swaha Gate Gate Para Gate Para Samgate Bodhi Swaha Gate Gate Para Gate Para Samgate Bodhi Swaha. Sentient beings are limitless. I vow to liberate them. Afflictions are endless. I vow to eradicate them. Teachings are infinite. I vow to learn them. Buddhahood is vow to attain it. I vow that from now until the end of my life and in all future lives until I attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, that I will help all sentient beings in all realms of existence in their suffering. Namo Tathas, come one worthy of offerings, a proper and universal knowledge, perfect in understanding and conduct skillful. Through liberation, perfect and complete understanding of all worldly dharma, unsurpassed night-aiming hero, teacher of gods and people, Buddha, the world-honored one. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Namo Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Namo Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Namo Mahasamaprapta Bodhisattva, Namo Mahasamaprapta Bodhisattva, Namo Mahasamaprapta Bodhisattva, Namo Shiti-garbha Bodhisattva, Namo Shiti-garbha Bodhisattva, Namo Shiti-garbha Bodhisattva, Namo Manjushri Bodhisattva, Namo Manjushri Bodhisattva, Namo Manjushri Bodhisattva, Namo Bodhisattva, Namo Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, Namo Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, Namo Maitreya Bodhisattva, Namo Maitreya Bodhisattva, Namo Maitreya Bodhisattva, Namo Great Pure Sea-like Bodhisattvas, Namo Great Pure Sea-like Bodhisattvas, Namo Great Pure Sea-like Bodhisattvas, Namo Deva Guarding Bodhisattvas, Namo Deva Guarding Bodhisattvas, Namo Deva Guarding Bodhisattvas. Refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way. In this life I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and of love. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. In the refuge of Buddha, I clearly see the path of light and beauty in the world. Dwelling in the refuge of Dharma, I learn to open many doors on the path of transformation. Dwelling in refuge of Sangha, shining light that supports me, keeping my practice free of obstruction. Refuge in the Buddha, in myself I aspire to help all people recognize their own awakened age, realizing the mind of love. Refuge in the Dharma, in myself I aspire to help all people fully master the ways of practice and walk together on the path of liberation, taking refuge in the Sangha. In myself I aspire to people build fourfold communities who embrace all beings and support their transformation. Citing the sutra, practicing the ways of awareness gives rise to benefits without limits. We vow to share the fruits with all beings. We vow to offer tribute to parents, teachers, friends, and numerous beings who give guidance, support,